Now we're moving on to the main part of the calculation. Let's say we have a recipe of black soap. This is just a theoretical recipe. This is not a real recipe. Let's say we are supposed to take 50% black soap, olive oil, 10%, shea butter of maybe 10%, turmeric powder of 10% as well. Want to put herbal extract, 15% herbal extract, skin lightener of, let's say, 4%, and then preservative of 1%. So one thing that you need to take note is whatever recipe that you want to have in percentages, everything, all the percentage of all the whole recipe calculated all together must be 100, must not exceed 100 and must not be below 100. So let's say for this recipe right now, we have the soap is 50%. This is 50 plus 10 is 60, plus 10 is 70, plus 10 is 80, plus 5 is 95, plus 4 is 99, and then plus 1 is 100%. So all the percent all together must always be 100%. Even if your recipe, you have more than, let's say this one now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are 8 ingredients that we have in this recipe. Even if you have 10, 15 ingredients in your recipe, your percentage must not be above or below 100%. I want to make 500 ml of this black soap. So this recipe you can use for any meals of your choice. You can use for 100 ml, you can use for 100 grams, you can use for 500 ml, you can use for 1000 ml. So if you have, the best part about having a recipe in percentage is that you can easily use this percentage you can also easily use a recipe that is in percentage for any amount of product that you want to make. If you have a recipe in percentage, you can use to make even 10,000 meals of that product. But if you don't have the percentage, it will be very hard to calculate it for a larger amount of products. But if you have it in percentage, it will be way easy to make a large amount of products. Now I want to make 500 ml of this recipe. Now we have black soap 50%. So the first thing you want to do is you want to calculate for your black soap. So we have 50% of black soap that was supposed to go into the recipe. So what you want to do is you want to take 50, like I said, over 100. That the first thing you want to calculate is the percent. Now 50 over 100 is 0.5. Okay, so now we are supposed to calculate want to calculate for 500 ml of black soap. Now you now take this 0.5 times the 500 ml that you want to calculate overall, and then we are going to get 250. So that means we are going to use 250 grams of black soap. I don't know if you guys get. So if you want to make a 500 ml with this recipe, you are going to need 250 grams of black soap, and I'm using gram because black soap is solid. For this same recipe, we have olive oil 10%. So now you want to calculate for olive oil. Olive oil is 10%. That means 10 over 100, which is our percent. So 10 over 100 is 0.1. So 0.1 times the 500. So take note that you are going to be calculating it with the 500 ml overall. So that means we are going to be getting 50. So because this is an oil, it is liquid, that is 50 ml of oil. You want to make shea butter, so you want to calculate the same thing. Like you want to calculate according to the percentage for each. Oh, that is 10% shea butter. So that means 10 over 100, 0.1 times 500 ml. And that is also 50 gram of shea butter. Shea butter is semi-solid, but it is more solid than liquid, so that's why we're using gram of shea butter for this formulation. Now, turmeric powder. For turmeric powder, they say we should use also 10% turmeric powder. That is 10 over 100. That is equals to 0.1, which is 10 over 100 times 500, which is the overall meal that we want to make, which will also give us 50 gram, because it is turmeric, it is powder of turmeric powder. Next thing I want to add is herbal water. So for our herbal water or herbal extract, they say we should use 15% in the recipe. So 15% is basically 15 all over 100, which is equals to 0.15. So 0.15 times 500 mils give us 75. Because it is a liquid, 75 mils of herbal water. So the next one to calculate for is our skin lightener. So for the skin lightener, they say we should have 4%. So that is 4% is 4 all over 100, right? So 4 all over 100 will give us 0.04. So 0.04 times 500 mils from above, and that will give us 20 mils of skin lightener. Last but not least is our preservative. So for preservative, say we should have 1% preservative. You guys can see that 1%. Can you guys see 1% preservative? So for 1% preservative, that is 1 all over 100. That is the meaning of 1%. And 1 all over 100 is equals to 0.01. So this 0.01 is to be times the 500 mils that we've been using. That is the amount that I want to make. We want to make 500 mils of black soap. So that will give us 5 mils of preservative. Now, let me explain this better for you guys. So let me start from the beginning. So now we are given this recipe to make, that we are given this recipe, black soap, 50% of black soap, 10% olive oil, 10% shea butter, 10% turmeric powder, 15% herbal extract, 4% skin lightener, 1% preservative. So that is the recipe that we were given, and we are asked to make 500 mils of this recipe, of like 500 ml black soap using this recipe. So now what we want to do is you want to calculate for each component, for each ingredient. So now we have black soap. The black soap, we are supposed to have 50% black soap, because this, we want to have 50% black soap in this formulation. So you take that 50%, 50, because 50%, like I mentioned in the beginning, 50% means 50 over 100. So that is 50 over 100, and that 50 over 100 to give us 0.5. So you now take that 0.5 and calculate it by the total amount of soap that you want to make. So now what we get is 250 grams. So for this recipe, we are going to be measuring 250 grams of black soap. That is how you get your measurement of the amount of black soap you will need for 500 mils of black soap for this particular recipe. For the olive oil, the recipe calls for 10% olive oil. So now you now take this 10%, now you calculate the percent, which is 10 over 100, and that will give us 0.1. Now 0.1 times the total amount of product to be produced, which is 500 mils, like you see here. So that is 50 mils. When you times 0.1 multiplied by 500, that is 50 mils of oil. So for this recipe, we are going to be needing 250 grams of black soap and 50 mils of oil. For shea butter as well, we are asked to do 10% shea butter. The same thing, you want to do the percentage 10 over 100, that is 0.1. Now 0.1 times the total amount of product to be produced, which is 500 mils. So that will give us 50 grams. And now this place you get the concept of the grams and the mils. So you see here I use mils, you see here I use grams, even though it is the same 50-50. Now the reason is this one is an oil. Oil is liquid. That's why we are using mils. This is the quantity to quantify the liquidity or the liquidity of the olive oil. Now shea butter is semi-solid. It is not completely solid. Some of them are solid, but it's more solid. So that's why we're using grams. So the gram and the mil doesn't really matter. It just depends on the state of the matter, the state at which our ingredient is. If it is a liquid, if it's in a liquid state, or if it is in solid state, that's when you qualify gram or mils. Now we are going to be using 50 grams of shea butter in this recipe for 500 mils of black soap. Turmeric is also 10%, so give us 0.1 multiplied by 500 mils, total amount of black soap to be produced. So that will also give us 250 grams of turmeric powder. Now calculate the same thing for herbal extract. The recipe calls for 15% herbal extract, as you can see up there. So you calculate the percentage, which is 15 all over 100. So that will give us 0.15. So 0.15 multiplied by the total amount of products to be produced, which is 500 mils, and that will give us 75 mils because it is herbal extract, it is liquid. So mils. That means we need 75 mils of herbal extract for 500 mils of that recipe. Now also for skin lighteners, the same thing. The recipe called for 4% skin lightener. So this 4% is 4 over 100. So that is 0.04. So we multiply by the total amount of soap to be made, which is 500 mils, and that will give us 20 mils of skin lightener. So for this recipe, we need 20 mils of skin lightener to make 500 mils of this black soap recipe. And the last but not least is our preservative. The recipe called for 1% preservative. So preservative 1%. So we do 1% is 1 over 100, and that will give us 0.01. So 0.01 times the total amount of black soap that we want to make. That is 500 mils, and that will give us 5 mils of preservative for 500 mils of this recipe. I hope you guys get that. Now for you guys to just get more understanding, better understanding of this recipe thing, I'm going to use this exact recipe for a different amount of black soap, so you guys will see the difference and what I'm talking about.